He was a pathetic lonely demon lord who got defeated by a beautiful angel. After losing everything, he ends up in another world, broke and powerless. Deciding to live like a normal human, he accidentally ends up rizzing every girl he meets, including the beautiful hero who once defeated him.
Would you let me stay the night?
The story kicks off in a chaotic, war-ravaged land called Ente Isla. A powerful demon lord named Maou leads his monstrous army, determined to wipe out every human. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, a brave female warrior rises up and, with her team, crushes Mao's forces in battle after battle. As Maou faces defeat, he decides to make a last-second escape with his loyal right-hand man Ashiya. But before leaving, he promises to return one day and destroy everything. Maou and Ashiya land on Earth, but something strange happens. They've been turned into regular humans. Confused and shocked by their new bodies, things get even weirder when a police officer shows up and mistakes them for costumed nerds. He tries to escort them, but when Ashiya raises his hand to summon a lightning strike, nothing happens, just a silent gust of disappointment. The officer takes them to the station, but Maou uses hypnotism to trick the cops into spilling everything about how this world works. After walking out of the station, Maou tells Ashiya that magic doesn't seem to exist here, it only lives in fiction. Ashiya decides to try a spell to test this out, and instead of summoning fire or something dramatic, he ends up calling a self-driving taxi. Since magic's not working, they agree to blend in for now until they understand the rules of this world. Using their hypnosis trick again, they create bank accounts and rent an apartment through a real estate agent. That night, Maou tells Ashiya that their new mission will require a lot of effort. But while talking, Maou suddenly collapses and has to be taken to the hospital. When he's released, he complains about how fragile his human body is and is even more frustrated when he finds out the hospital bill is more expensive than their rent. That's when it hits him: money runs this world. Back home, they fill out job applications using made-up names and prepare to enter the working world. A few days later, on his way to his new job, Maou is waiting at a crosswalk in the rain with an umbrella. A girl walks up next to him, completely soaked, so Maou, feeling generous, hands her his umbrella and runs off in the rain since his job is nearby. Later at work, a girl named Chiho compliments Maou on how well he handles customers. He humbly says he's just been trying his best, even if he's only a part-timer. Everything's going fine until one of the machines stops working. Maou starts freaking out, worried that his perfect worker streak is about to end. He thinks about using magic to fix it, but he's almost out of power. Right then, his boss Kisaki walks in and asks what the problem is. Maou sulks while Chiho tries to cheer him up. Soon after, Kisaki calls Maou into her office. He nervously sits there, assuming he's about to be fired again. But to his surprise, Kisaki tells him he's being promoted to a full-time position. Overjoyed, Maou heads home, celebrating his little victory. But on the way, he runs into the same girl he gave his umbrella to. She tells him that she watched him at work from a bookstore across the street, and then stuns him by asking if he tried to use magic. Maou panics, and the girl reveals herself. She's Amelia, the hero who almost ended him in Ente Isla. Maou is stunned and asks what she's doing on Earth. Amelia says she followed him through the portal to finish what she started. Maou suggests talking it out, but Amelia pulls out a small knife and says she's ready to finish him. Maou makes fun of her toy-like weapon, asking what happened to her holy sword. She ignores the question and charges at him. Their little fight lands them both in a police station, where the officer mistakes them for a bickering couple. Annoyed, Amelia blurts that she'd rather date a frog than Maou. Back at their place, Amelia announces she'll spare Maou for now, but warns him she knows where he lives. Maou jokes that she doesn't seem very heroic, and she snaps back that he's a fine one to talk, flipping burgers for a living. The next day, Amelia's at her job at a call center. When a coworker suggests trying out the fast food place Maou works at, she instantly says that's the last place she wants to go. After her shift, she has a mini breakdown from how dull her life has become. Eventually, she ends up at Mao's apartment, judging the tiny space while Maou awkwardly defends it. When she keeps criticizing their sad dinner, Maou admits they're broke. Amelia blames herself for chasing after hopeless guys. Ashiya asks what happened to her teammates, and she explains she was the only one who made it through the gate. Maou then boldly declares that his plan to take over this world starts right there in his shabby apartment. Amelia isn't impressed. When she laughs at the idea of a fast food worker conquering anything, Maou claims he'll use his job to build wealth and power. Amelia calls his dream ridiculous, and Maou insults her intelligence, leading her to leave. The next morning, Amelia spies on Mao's apartment. Maou tells Ashiya they need to take a bloody bath, and Amelia mishears, thinking they're about to commit murder. Turns out they were just going to a bathhouse. Amelia ends up there too, sitting through a boring conversation she wishes she skipped. Later, she ignores another friend's hangout request just to continue spying on Maou. But what she sees is even weirder: Maou and Ashiya rubbing cucumbers with honey. Frustrated, she visits Maou at work and asks to speak after his shift, but Maou pretends she's just a random customer. Chiho, curious, asks Maou if that girl is his friend. He awkwardly says it's complicated. She gushes about how pretty Amelia is. Chiho later asks Maou if he was okay during yesterday's earthquake. Maou, surprised, says he didn't even notice and that his roommate didn't either. When Chiho asks if he lives with his girlfriend, he quickly explains he's just broke and lives with an old buddy. After work, Maou meets Amelia. She says she's been observing him and notices he's been living a peaceful life. She offers to let him stay alive if he promises to keep it that way. But Maou refuses, joking about her watching two dudes sleep in a tiny room forever. She tells him to give up on ever returning to Ente Isla. Maou says no way, he's going back to conquer it someday. Out of nowhere, his bicycle gets shot. While he freaks out about his flat tire, more bullets fly at them. Maou pushes Amelia out of harm's way, but she tells him to stop acting like a hero. They both realize now's not the time to argue and run for safety. Later, catching their breath, Amelia asks who's behind the attack. Maou guesses it's someone powerful who knows their true identities. Amelia asks how someone like that could exist on Earth. Maou sarcastically blames her for choosing the worst place to meet. They argue again, and Maou walks off, telling her to be careful. That night, he finds Amelia outside his place. Thinking she's back for a fight, he prepares himself, but she just asks if she can crash at his place. She lost her wallet. Ashiya freaks out when Maou brings her inside, saying no demon lord ever invited a hero in at midnight. Maou shrugs, explains the situation, and lets her in. He tosses her a blanket and some money, telling her to take the first train out in the morning. When Ashiya complains, Amelia storms off to sleep, mumbling that she should have stayed in her own world. The morning after Amelia stayed the night, Maou and Ashiya walk into the kitchen and notice a bowl of pickled veggies sitting on the counter. Neither of them remembers putting it there. After a moment of thinking, they realize it was probably Amelia's way of saying thanks for letting her stay over. Meanwhile, Chiho's at home thinking back to her conversation with Maou. When she remembers him saying yes to hanging out later, her face lights up with a blush. Her mom walks in and casually asks if she's going to work that day. Chiho shakes her head and says she already has plans. But when her mom tells her to be careful, Chiho immediately starts worrying that she's about to get an awkward talk about dating or being safe. Luckily, her mom is just warning her because of the recent crime stories on the news. At the same time, Amelia's at her office when she gets a strange phone call. The voice on the line somehow knows exactly who she is and starts talking like he's been watching her. He even mocks her for teaming up with Maou, the demon lord. Then, he drops a bomb. He says both she and Maou are supposed to be eliminated because of something written in Tyla's will. That totally freaks Amelia out. She tries to figure out who the caller could be, especially since Ashiya was the last surviving member of Mao's army. But the person refuses to say more, tells her they'll be in touch, and ends the call. Just then, her coworker Rika comes over and asks if she wants to go out for lunch. But Amelia quickly gets a phone call from the police and uses that as an excuse to leave. A short while later, she's at the police station furiously scribbling her name on forms, clearly annoyed. At the same time, Maou and Ashiya realize something big. Living in the human world isn't as easy or safe as they once thought. Right outside the station, Amelia storms up to them, clearly angry. She yells that they listed her as their emergency contact, basically their legal backup, without even asking. Ashiya just shrugs and tells her to chill out and start acting like the hero she's always claiming to be. After they leave, Amelia tells Maou about the threatening call. She warns him that now both of them are targets. She rants about being the only one allowed to take him out herself, but Maou reminds her that yelling about murder in public is not exactly normal here. Annoyed, she tells him to stay alive until she's the one to finish the job and walks off. While walking back home, Ashiya brings up Mao's meeting with Chiho and says they should stop by a place on the way. Mao's confused, but Ashiya drags him into a clothing store. Turns out, Ashiya wants to help Maou look better. After picking out some new clothes, Maou asks how Ashiya could afford any of it. Ashiya admits he had some secret money saved just for situations like this. Maou tries to say it's not a real date, but Ashiya gets serious and tells him, if it involves a girl, it's definitely a date. Later that day, Chiho meets Maou. He tells her she looks great, and Chiho says he looks cooler than usual too. She suggests they go somewhere affordable and chill. Maou says not to worry, he'll take care of the bill. Meanwhile, back at the train station, Amelia sneaks up on Ashiya and catches him spying. She demands to know what he's doing, but Ashiya tries to brush her off. Amelia isn't buying it. She knows something's up and starts watching too. That's when she spots Maou sitting inside a CAF with Chiho. Her eyes narrow. She yanks Ashiya aside and asks what the demon lord is planning to do with that girl. Ashiya says Maou isn't doing anything wrong. But since Amelia won't leave it alone, he spills the truth. Chiho has feelings for Maou. Amelia takes a long look at Chiho and compares herself to her, realizing Chiho is more well endowed. Frustrated, she says there's no point watching from a distance anymore and walks into the CAF. Ashiya tries to stop her but fails. Inside the CAF, Chiho opens up to Maou. She says she heard a strange voice inside her head talking about weird events happening soon. Even weirder, the voice spoke in a language she didn't know, but somehow, she understood every word. Maou thinks it might be Idea Link, a magical way to send thoughts directly to people's minds. While he's thinking about it, he accidentally spills hot coffee on himself after spotting Amelia walking in. Chiho checks on him, but Maou is clearly distracted. Amelia glares at him from across the room. Just as Chiho starts to tell Maou how sweet she thinks he is and maybe even confess, Amelia interrupts like a scene from a soap opera and starts bashing him. Chiho tells Amelia to stop saying such mean stuff and asks what her connection to Maou is. Amelia bluntly says she's his enemy. Maou tries to calm them both down, but they shut him up before he can speak. Chiho then remembers seeing Amelia at Mao's job and casually asks if she's his ex. Offended, Amelia slams the table. Chiho takes that as a yes and confidently says she'll go after Maou if she wants. The two girls keep going back and forth until suddenly, the building shakes violently. A huge earthquake hits. Later, Chiho wakes up, buried under rubble. She sees Amelia nearby, who tells her they're stuck underground. Chiho's first thought is Maou. She asks if he's okay. Amelia jokes that a lot of people would probably throw a party if he died, but then says he's alive. Amelia introduces herself properly and tells Chiho she's not dating Maou. Chiho nervously greets her back. When Amelia asks why she likes Maou, Chiho gets shy at first but finally admits it. Amelia tells her straight up, liking Maou will probably just end in heartbreak. She helps Chiho lie down and get some rest. Then, she looks into the shadows and tells Maou to come out. Maou steps forward, and this time, he's in his demon form. Amelia realizes that his magic must have returned. Maou, on the other hand, is stressed about how he's going to explain how he looks. Amelia starts thinking about summoning her sword, but Maou asks her to stay with Chiho while he goes to help others. Maou heads straight into action, clearing debris and saving people from the wreckage. As she watches him work, Amelia quietly wonders if he's forgotten what it means to be evil. At the rubble, Amelia suddenly remembers something from her past, her life on the farm with her dad. She remembers how peaceful it used to be, and how her dad said the church would protect them from danger. But one day, a church leader showed up and told her dad that she was born with angel blood and was the only person who could defeat the demon king. After she left, her village was burned down by the overlord's army. At the present, Maou walks up and asks if she's alright. She tells him not to act like he cares. She notices he's back in his normal human form. Then Chiho walks over. A police officer comes by and tells them to clear the area. But when he sees Chiho, he stops and asks if she's the daughter of the inspector. Chiho nods, and the cop goes to get her dad. Maou remembers the first time he met Chiho and figures she wouldn't want her dad to find out she was on a date when all this happened. So, without saying much, he slips away. Maou tells Amelia something important. When he first arrived on Earth, he used a little magic on Chiho's dad. That spell might be why Chiho can now hear voices in her head. Amelia then asks if the earthquake was planned. Maou nods. Someone set it up to hurt them, but their plan failed because his powers came back. He asks who the person might be, but before he can answer, Rika shows up and calls Amelia over. Rika runs up to Maou and says he's sorry for not protecting him properly. Maou tells him not to worry and asks if he's hurt. Then they walk home together. Amelia is at Rika's house, scarfing down a bowl of food in seconds. Rika brings up the recent crimes and jokingly says she wants a bodyguard like Amelia's. Amelia groans and says she doesn't have a bodyguard and that Maou doesn't mean anything to her at all. Maou hears a knock and heads to the door, only to find Amelia sliding an envelope through the gap. For a second, he thinks she's trying to blow him up or something. But when he opens it and checks inside, it turns out she's just returning the cash he gave her for train fare. Holding the envelope, Maou brings up their last conversation and reminds her she said she'd stay out of his life for a while. But Amelia shrugs and says that plan's off, she's now officially his guarantor, so she's stuck with him whether she likes it or not. Asks if she's okay, and Amelia shoots back with attitude, telling him she doesn't need her so-called enemy checking in on her well-being. Maou tells her to leave already. She storms off but barely makes it down the stairs before tripping and crashing to the floor. Minutes later, Ashiya's watching her limp and jokes, "So you can battle armies, but can't survive a staircase?" While searching the apartment for medical supplies, Ashiya can't find what he needs, so Maou tells him to head to the pharmacy and grab some things. Alone with Amelia, Maou tries to help clean her wounds, but she quickly grabs the towel from him and tells him to back off. She tries to patch herself up and winces in pain. Maou asks again if she's okay, which only irritates her more. She snaps that he's supposed to be some powerful overlord, not a soft nurse. Confused, Maou asks what she's getting at. Amelia then calls him out, saying he's nothing like the terrifying villain he once was. He's just playing house and blushing because some teenage girl likes him. Argues back, saying not every demon king has to be evil. He then mocks her for tripping over stairs and needing help from the very people she's supposed to be fighting. Amelia finally pauses, her anger fading, and asks why he's being kind to her and even to the humans. She stares at him, eyes watery, and asks something that clearly weighs on her heart. If he can act so decent now, why did he destroy her father's land and leave her with nothing? Rolling down her cheeks, Amelia says she can't forgive him for ruining everything she loved. Maou, looking guilty, says he didn't really understand how humans felt back then. Just as things get quiet, the front door opens. Chiho and Ashiya walk in and freeze at the scene of Amelia crying on the floor. Chiho completely misreads the moment, thinks something super awkward just happened, and bolts out the door apologizing. A few seconds later, the landlady, Mickey, walks in with perfect timing, takes one look at the situation, and sighs, thinking Maou is tangled up in some sort of messy love triangle. She greets Amelia and casually asks if she's Mao's girlfriend. Amelia immediately shoots that down, saying there's no way she'd date someone like him. Maou tries to respond, but Mickey cuts him off. Mickey pulls out a notice and says the building's going under renovation. She says too many weird things have been happening, so she's taking no chances. She also adds that Chiho ran off in tears after visiting the apartment, and says Maou needs to take responsibility. Everyone's confused until Mickey mentions that Chiho got hit with a sonar and formed something called an idea link. Shocked, Maou realizes this might explain her strange connection. Mickey tells them they better find Chiho fast before something terrible happens. Somewhere nearby, Chiho is walking alone, wiping her eyes. She finally admits to herself that she's fallen for Maou. She isn't alone. Out of the shadows steps Lucifer, who watches her with a hungry smile and calls her the perfect target. He says her heartbreak and sadness over Maou are like a buffet of pain and he plans to devour it. Some stranger sees Lucifer and tries to stop him, but gets knocked away effortlessly by his wings. Lucifer laughs, saying he's about to become something even greater than Maou ever was and declares his plan to unleash chaos. At that moment, Maou, Amelia, and Ashiya arrive and freeze when they see him. Amelia is stunned. She thought Lucifer had died back in the war at Ente Isla. But Lucifer grins and says he's alive thanks to someone named Alba, a high-ranking church member. Then, another figure steps forward and pulls back his hood. It's Alba. Amelia stares in disbelief and asks him why he's siding with Lucifer. Lucifer quickly explains that they're working together now, planning to destroy the hero and take power for themselves. Maou guesses their deal. The church promised to restore Lucifer's place in exchange for helping them. Alba looks surprised that Maou figured it out so fast, but Maou mocks him, saying even cheap movie villains have better plans. Finally, Lucifer shoots a blast and sends Ashiya flying. The demon floats up, charging more attacks and firing at Maou and Amelia. Maou blocks the magic as innocent bystanders panic and scream. Alba tries to get Lucifer to stop, But Lucifer brushes him off, saying the hero and Overlord are too weak to fight back anyway. Run for cover, Amelia yells that they're just going to keep running. Maou tells her that saving Ashiya comes first. Amelia then asks how Lucifer even has access to magic here. Maou explains that he's likely draining people's dark emotions like fear and anger from all the robberies and chaos he's been causing lately. Suddenly, Lucifer reappears in front of them and taunts Maou for not using the subway collapse as a way to regain power. Maou smirks and says he's having a good time living on Earth. Lucifer mocks him, saying he's gone soft, and summons Chiho, threatening to suck every drop of despair from her. Which is another attack, and Maou and Amelia are forced to dodge. Maou takes a hit and complains about how fragile human bodies are. As they flee, they run into Alba, who coldly shoots Maou with a gun. Amelia is shocked and asks why he's using regular human weapons. Alba explains he's saving his magic to control the dimensional gate later. They return home to regroup. Lucifer shows up again. He looks at Maou and questions whether he's really the same Overlord who once terrified the world. Alba tells Lucifer to just finish them all off now. Maou grabs Amelia and teleports them to a different train station. He asks if he did that just to get to a hospital. But before Maou can answer, Lucifer reappears, and this time, he blasts a hole straight through Mao's body. Thinking he finally won, Lucifer says he no longer needs Chiho and lets her fall from the sky. Thinking, Amelia dashes forward and catches Chiho just in time. Lucifer unleashes a full-scale attack on the city and brings down an entire bridge. But something's off, the rubble stops mid-air. Everyone looks up to see Maou, now in his demon form, using magic to hold the debris in place. Chiho wakes up and spots him floating above. Amelia realizes Maou purposely brought the fight to a crowded spot so he could absorb enough energy from everyone's emotions to regain his full power. He calls out to her and says he can hold the bridge forever. She needs to do something about Lucifer, and fast. Amelia says she'll never help someone like him, but then casts a spell to protect Chiho and summons her hero equipment. Quickly puts the crowd to sleep and creates a magical barrier around the area so their battle doesn't wreck the whole planet. The fight begins. Swords clash. Magic flies everywhere. After trading blows, Lucifer kicks Amelia hard and sends her flying. Laughs and mocks her for losing power. Ashiya suddenly appears behind him carrying Amelia in his arms. He announces that he now serves the Overlord, which makes Lucifer his enemy. Amelia is shocked to see him alive. Ashiya explains he was close to death, but Maou shared enough magic to keep him going. Just then, Alba tries to shoot again, but Amelia disarms him before he can. Annoyed at how useless Alba is, yells at him to prove he's not worthless. But Alba says he has no way to regain his magic now. Lucifer reminds him that if they fail, they're stuck here forever, and then powers up for a final attack. Looked around, confused, wondering if she had just stepped into some kind of sci-fi movie. Maou knew there was no way she'd understand what was really going on, so he gently lowered the broken bridge. While he did that, the others were too busy shouting insults at each other. Alba started acting like he was some genius inventor, but Ashiya launched a few cars at him, smashing him against a wall and cutting his rant short. At the same time, Maou felt a little proud of how things were going, but he realized he had to move fast or he'd be late for his shift at the fast food joint. Floating in the air, he started thinking about how ridiculous it was that someone as powerful as him had been treated like a nobody. That annoyed him, so he went straight up to Lucifer, glaring into his soul with a deadly look. Maou turned to Amelia and asked what he should do with Lucifer. Amelia didn't hesitate. She told him to punish the guy for all the damage he caused. So Maou unleashed a bunch of magic spells that ripped Lucifer's demon form apart and forced him back into his human body. Chiho, still totally lost, asked who they all were. Maou told her straight he was a demon king from another world. Amelia said she was half angel and half human. Chiho laughed nervously, saying she always thought stuff like that only existed in fantasy stories. Later on, Amelia asked Maou if he was going back to his world now that he got his powers back. Told her he was scheduled to work a ton of shifts this month. That shocked Ashiya, who asked if Maou cared more about flipping burgers than taking over a kingdom. Amelia walked up to Lucifer and asked if he was the one who had called her while she was working. He admitted it. Right then, a magical portal opened and Esmeralda stepped out with Albert by her side. Albert looked around confused and asked why time wasn't moving. Esmeralda explained it was because of a spell that froze the area. Soon spotted Amelia and walked over. When they saw Maou and Ashiya there too, they were surprised. The group then headed back to Mao's apartment. On the way, Esmeralda revealed that Alba and the church were behind the plan to get rid of her. The bridge had collapsed. Lucifer stayed behind to fix it, wondering if Maou had finally lost his mind for caring about something so small. Esmeralda and Albert had to head back, warned that the church might panic if they stayed away too long, and told Amelia she should come back too. Mao's job, Chiho asked if he was planning to return to his world. He said no and offered to erase her memory if she wanted, but that only made her angry. A few days later, Maou was having a small celebration with Ashiya for getting promoted at work. He was acting like a villain while chewing on meat, but Ashiya told him to calm down because customers were getting scared. Maou apologized and asked if they should get Lucifer something to eat. Ashiya refused, saying Lucifer already blew too much of their money shopping online. In their homeworld, a church agent told the higher-ups that Maou, Amelia, and the others were alive and hiding in another dimension. That the news about Amelia being alive might leak soon. The priests panicked and begged for a solution. On Earth, Maou and Ashiya came home and found Lucifer starving again. While Ashiya gave him a lecture, Maou handed him a bowl of food. Lucifer complained it wasn't enough. Ashiya reminded him he already got a free computer and internet. Lucifer joked he couldn't eat that, but Ashiya told him to use it to look up magic info online. To prove he was useful, Lucifer hacked into Amelia's work computer and called her. She immediately got mad when she realized it was him. Later, at work, Chiho congratulated Maou on becoming shift manager in less than a year. She joked that now he got to rule over a few humans. But before Maou could say anything, Amelia burst in, demanding to talk. He told her he was busy. She snapped back, blaming him for prank calling her while she was at work. Lucifer was home digging through files on his PC. Ashiya checked the mailbox and found a strange letter from Mike. Else, Amelia asked Maou why he pulled that prank. He blamed Lucifer. She then asked why he was letting Lucifer stay with him. Maou said Alba was arrested, and it wasn't safe to leave Lucifer out on his own. Amelia rolled her eyes, complaining the apartment was way too crowded. Maou explained he couldn't go back to his world even if he wanted to. Amelia, bragging, said she could come and go as she pleased. Maou asked why she hadn't left then. Told him it was her job as a hero to stay and keep demons in check. Home, Maou found Lucifer lying on the floor. He helped him up and noticed the letter on the ground. Ashiya warned him not to open it. Later, Ashiya explained it was just swimsuit photos of Mickey, which made Maou wonder why two demons would care about that. Lucifer dared him to look for himself. Maou peeked, then quickly changed the subject, asking if Lucifer had found any magical clues. Lucifer pulled up some info on his computer and showed Maou a map of nearby places full of magic. He showed a post about a haunted classroom where something strange might be going on. Maou and Ashiya visited the school to check things out. They were trying to figure out how to get in when they saw Chiho waving at them from a classroom window. At work, Maou asked her about the haunted classroom, and she told him all the rumors. Maou guessed it might be linked to a portal and said he wanted to investigate. Chiho offered to help. They sneaked into the old school building. Chiho told Maou a student had vanished from that classroom years ago, and it's been locked ever since. Maou got a call from Lucifer, who said a portal had once been opened there, making it easier to open again. Lucifer also said Maou could recharge his powers if he got inside. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the hallway. Thinking it was a monster, they got ready for a fight. Ashiya said they didn't have enough magic and joked about using Mickey's mail as a distraction. Just then, Amelia appeared, warning them they'd look like creeps if someone found them sneaking around with a teenage girl at night. They explained. Chiho handed Amelia some slippers to wear. Amelia said she followed them to the school but then realized she had been talking to statues. The others quickly walked away. Chiho asked if ditching her was smart. Maou said things always go wrong when she's around. In a science lab, but Amelia found them and attacked a dummy, thinking it was Maou. The others came out and told her she just broke school property. Chiho said they could keep it a secret. Amelia told Maou to fix it with magic. To the haunted classroom, Maou asked her to put away her sword. She refused. When they reached the room, it was unlocked. They went inside and realized someone had been staying there. Maou noticed a gaming console. Suddenly, Lucifer called and asked if Maou had found it. Maou said yes, then realized he'd been tricked. If Lucifer and Alba arrived on Earth through that room. Lucifer admitted it. Feeling disappointed, Maou and the others left. Next day, Maou was heading home from work when a girl in traditional Japanese clothes tripped down the stairs and landed right in his arms. The following morning, the doorbell rang. Maou and the others wondered who it was. When Maou opened the door, he saw the same girl from the stairs. She introduced herself as Suzuno and apologized for falling. As a thank you, she handed him a heavy bag of noodles. Maou could barely hold it. Ashiya introduced himself, and Suzuno explained that the landlord had sent her a letter saying she could rely on them for help. She was about to show them a photo from the letter, but Ashiya quickly stopped her before things got awkward. Then, she spotted Lucifer. He introduced himself, and Maou chimed in, calling him a lazy freeloader, which made Lucifer even more annoyed. At Amelia's place, she receives a package from Esmeralda. While they're chatting on a video call, Esmeralda explains that the box holds special holy energy drinks only for Amelia to use while she's on Earth. Curious, Amelia opens the box and listens as Esmeralda explains how drinking those bottles will recharge her divine powers. Later that day, Amelia pretends she's on a secret mission, like a spy, but quickly realizes why most of those stakeouts happen at night. She suddenly notices Suzuno standing outside giving Lucifer a serious life lecture about how to behave in the house. Amelia gets suspicious, thinking maybe Suzuno is another demon trying to blend in. Trying not to be seen, Amelia sneaks into the building and uses a mirror to secretly watch what's going on. Meanwhile, Suzuno keeps talking to Lucifer while Ashiya lies nearby, looking sick, cheering Suzuno on to fix Lucifer's attitude. Eventually, Suzuno heads back to her apartment to grab some groceries. Amelia makes a quick dash for the exit but gets spotted. While hurrying away, she trips and tumbles down the stairs, landing right into Mao's arms. Maou asks sarcastically if all heroes are this clumsy. Amelia, annoyed, elbows him in the nose, and they both fall to the ground. Hearing the noise, Suzuno and Lucifer come out and ask what just happened. Suzuno apologizes for leaving the door open, but Amelia says it was her own fault for falling. Lucifer then walks up with Amelia's stuff, which he found on the stairs. He notices a bottle from the holy drinks and warns her that drinking those might mess her up like Ashiya. Ignoring him, Amelia quickly grabs the bottle back. Suzuno formally introduces herself and says she's just moved in next door. She adds that she comes from a super traditional place far away and doesn't know much about modern city life. While she's talking, Amelia gets distracted checking out Suzuno's body, then snaps out of it and politely introduces herself too. After that, Maou proudly announces that he just got promoted to shift supervisor at his fast food job, saying the pay's better now. But when he sees Amelia doesn't care at all, he loudly says he won't stop until he reaches the very top. Amelia just calls him a dumb loser. Suzuno, curious about their dynamic, asks Amelia if Mao's been sampling the goods lately since they act so comfortable around each other. Lucifer jokes that it seems that way. Annoyed, Amelia says she'd be thrilled if Maou just dropped dead. Right then, Amelia starts to believe Suzuno might also have a crush on Maou. So she leans in and whispers, asking if Suzuno's interested in him too. Suzuno drags her outside, scolding her for saying such things where others might hear. Then Suzuno asks how she guessed, but Amelia avoids talking about the drama with Chiho and says she just had a gut feeling. Once Amelia realizes Suzuno isn't a killer or a demon, she warns her to keep her distance from Maou. Being near him usually leads to bad luck. Suzuno says she's been through worse and can handle herself. Before leaving, Amelia gives her contact info and tells her to call if the guys ever act out of line. Maou hears this and asks what she really thinks of them. Amelia replies that they're worse than pests and not to be trusted. Then, before storming off, she threatens the guys to stay away from Suzuno. Ironically, she trips down the stairs again. Later, as Maou gets ready for his job, Suzuno shows up with a homemade lunch and hands it to him. Somewhere else, Amelia is chatting with Esmeralda again and tells her she's been drinking the holy energy drinks but hasn't felt much different yet. Esmeralda changes the subject and asks how things are going with Maou. Amelia says they don't really have time to get involved, they both have jobs. Esmeralda laughs and says she sounds like a sad housewife. That sends Amelia into a panic, shouting that Maou is still her sworn enemy. Esmeralda then mentions things are calm back in their world, though the church is still investigating Alba's disappearance, and they might already be searching for Amelia. After warning her to stay careful, the call ends. Back at MgRonald's, Mao's manager Kasaki informs him she'll be away for a bit, so he's in charge of making decisions. Later during his break, Maou opens the lunch Suzuno gave him. Chiho walks by and asks if Ashiya made that meal. Maou replies that his new neighbor gave it to him. That answer makes Chiho furious. She grabs his shirt and throws a jealous fit. That evening, Amelia grabs some dinner and prepares for another night of spying. But as she exits the convenience store, a masked guy smashes right into the glass door and falls. Amelia sees a strange glow in his eyes. When a nearby employee tries to play hero, she pushes him aside and summons her divine sword, knocking the attacker far back. She then tells the employee to call the cops. As she steps outside, the masked man shoots a purple energy beam at her, but she blocks it. Seeing him hiding in the shadows, she calls him out for attacking her in public. She rushes in to strike, but gets hit again, and this time, her sword shrinks, surprising her. As he keeps firing, the store worker hits him with some paintballs, and the attacker runs away. Amelia puts her sword away and apologizes to the employee for earlier. The police arrive soon after. She quietly wonders if the energy drink really helped at all since she still lost the fight. One of the officers brings back her things. Then she gets a call from Chiho, who tells her that Maou brought a lunch filled with love to work. The next day, Chiho and Amelia go to Mao's apartment and ring the bell. To their surprise, Suzuno opens the door and lets Maou know he's got company. Later, while Suzuno is cooking up a meal, Chiho notices how good she is in the kitchen and guesses she's helping out since Ashiya is stuck at home with heat stroke. They all sit down to eat, but Lucifer suddenly complains that he feels like he's being pushed out, like he's the villain. Suzuno explains she's just trying to share her groceries before they go bad since she overbought to save money until she finds work. Amelia asks what kind of job she's looking for. Suzuno replies that anything that covers her rent is fine. Maou offers that she could join him and Chiho at their workplace. Everyone is surprised. Maou says Chiho could train her and make things easy. Lucifer thinks Maou clearly has no idea how girls work. Amelia jumps in and tells Suzuno to think it over, no need to rush. A bit later, Ashiya tells Amelia she should take Suzuno shopping for clothes. Suzuno admits she only has traditional Japanese outfits, which surprises everyone. Chiho suggests they go to some clothing stores after work. Later, Chiho gets changed, and when she comes back, Amelia realizes she really wasn't lying about having only traditional clothes. After saying goodbye, Maou walks Chiho home. On the way, he asks if her parents are okay with her hanging out with a guy. She says they don't really care. Chiho then asks what Maou is going to do for dinner, now that Suzuno is out. When Maou says he hasn't thought about it, Chiho offers to bring him something, and Maou agrees. Chiho gets excited and Maou asks why she's okay being around demons. Chiho replies that she knows some things, but it doesn't matter because she's in love. Maou freezes, shocked. Chiho calmly tells him how she really feels. Maou says it's proof that humans are terrifying. Suddenly, Suzuno appears out of nowhere and says Maou should be grateful someone loves him. Chiho freaks out and asks how long she's been there. Realizing her feelings were exposed, Chiho panics, grabs Mao's bike, and rides off like a rocket. Soon after, Suzuno meets Amelia at the train station and admits it's her first time ever riding one. That surprises Amelia, so she asks how Suzuno even got to the city. Calmly, Suzuno replies that she just used a portal, which catches Amelia off guard. She then asks if Suzuno is from Ina. Suzuno, a little confused, says she thought Amelia already knew that. Both of them freeze, realizing something doesn't add up. Amelia insists she never said anything about that. Suzuno then brings up their past conversation outside Mao's apartment, and reminds Amelia that she asked if she was into Maou. Amelia reacts in shock, and Suzuno questions why she would even ask that if she didn't know where she was from. Amelia swears she was clueless at the time, but Suzuno points out how weird it is that a random girl just moved in next door and started acting like part of their friend group. Realizing there's been a huge mix-up, Amelia asks why Suzuno even wanted to know about her connection to Maou. Suzuno says she heard rumors that Amelia was working alongside him. Amelia quickly clears things up. They only teamed up temporarily to stop a common threat. Then it hits her, maybe that's why someone sent that Grim Reaper guy after her. While Suzuno listens, Amelia explains she was attacked near a store and assumed Suzuno might have been behind it. But since there was no paint on Suzuno, like the attacker had, she's now unsure. Suzuno firmly says she had nothing to do with any attacks and introduces herself as Christian Bell, the head investigator from the church. Amelia gives her a train ticket and says they should finish the conversation at their next stop. Later, while walking around the city, Suzuno behaves awkwardly and embarrasses herself in public. Once they sit down, Amelia asks how she even knows about the human world. Suzuno says she's been watching old TV dramas and documentaries to learn. As they get their drinks ready, Amelia asks why Suzuno moved in next to Maou. Suzuno explains she figured out Mao's location while following Alba and decided to stay close to keep an eye on him. Amelia asks what Suzuno wants from her. Suzuno responds by saying she doesn't believe the rumors that Amelia joined forces with Maou and actually wants to help her defeat him. She proposes they join together to stop Maou for good. But when Suzuno suggests they head back to Ina to convince the church to stop hiding Alba's betrayal, Amelia shuts her down. She says the church has sacrificed way too many people just to silence her and Maou. She starts listing the shady things Alba and the church have done and says she can't trust anyone working for them. Amelia also warns her not to underestimate demons, they're not as gentle as they may seem. Before walking away, she gives Suzuno a stack of magazines to help her learn more about Earth's customs. Meanwhile, at MgRonald's, Maou is stressed. The new burger place, Ente, is stealing all their customers. Kisaki shows up and tells Maou she's heading to the main office and he'll be in charge for now. Maou grumbles about how his first official day as manager is already a mess. A man walks in and asks for the manager. Maou steps up, and the guy introduces himself as Mitsuki, the manager of Ente. Mitsuki hands Maou his card, and Maou replies dryly, telling him to do your best. Then Mitsuki slides over to Chiho and tries to charm her with cheesy pick-up lines. Chiho's clearly irritated, and later vents to Maou. Maou regrets not stepping in, but Chiho's fired up now. She declares they won't let a guy like Mitsuki beat them. Maou then reveals that he already planted someone to spy on Ente. Later, while shopping, Suzuno bumps into Amelia and Rika. Amelia is surprised to see Suzuno bought even more traditional Japanese clothes and asks how she afforded them. Suzuno explains she sold a few things to get money. Then Suzuno says she's heading to Mao's workplace and invites Amelia to come too. Rika hears the name and says it sounds familiar. Suzuno admits that Amelia told her to avoid Maou, but she's already involved. Rika gets excited and thinks Amelia is caught in a love triangle. She insists on tagging along to help smooth things out. When they arrive, they notice Ente is packed with people, while MgRonald's is almost empty. Rika suggests they talk strategy over a meal at Ente before starting any drama. Inside, they place their orders. Rika pays, but gets creeped out when Mitsuki touches her hand. After picking a table, Rika mentions how weird Mitsuki smells. Then she asks Suzuno for the full story. Suzuno explains Maou is her kind neighbor. Amelia suddenly remembers that Suzuno once talked about taking Maou down. Rika then asks what Amelia really thinks of Maou. Amelia says she'd love to bury him 6 feet under. She adds that she's just trying to keep Suzuno away from him for her own good. Rika accuses her of hiding her true feelings. Amelia gets annoyed and asks why Rika keeps teasing her about Maou. Right then, Amelia starts trash-talking Maou, but Ashiya, who had been listening the whole time, cuts her off, clearly offended. Meanwhile, Maou is wondering what's taking Ashiya so long. He remembers asking him to scope out the competition. Ashiya didn't like the idea of spending money at their rival's shop, but Maou convinced him it was worth it to gather intel. Back at MgRonald's, Maou notices the team's spirit is gone, no one has the energy to serve, and the place feels lifeless compared to Cente's. Chiho suggests they try bringing in customers by standing outside. Maou says they should wait for Ashiya's report before making any moves. One staff member tells Maou not to overwork himself and offers to help. Maou regains his focus and tells everyone to start by cleaning the windows. Over at Cente's, Rika finds Ashiya hiding and asks why. He says he didn't want trouble until he heard Amelia insult his boss. Amelia offers to treat him to anything on the menu. Ashiya quickly sits and orders salads and desserts to keep things budget-friendly. Rika asks if he's a friend. Ashiya says not really, and introduces himself as Suzuno's neighbor. When Rika asks if he lives with Maou, Ashiya says yes. She then says she wants to meet Maou. Ashiya then spins a fake story. He says he and Maou ran a business together, and Amelia was part of a rival company. They all competed over deals until their company went under. Now, they're trying to rebuild by working at restaurants, and Amelia still checks in on them. He finishes by saying Maou is still determined to succeed and is learning the ropes at MgRonald's. Ashiya even hints that Amelia wants to keep Suzuno away because Maou still sees her as the enemy. Rika is touched and compliments Ashiya. They share a moment, and she blushes. Amelia teases her and asks what's going on. Rika says she wants to meet Maou, so they head out, leaving Amelia behind to pay the bill. Ashiya returns to Maou and reports that Senti's isn't anything special. The new shop is just getting attention because it's fresh. He wishes Maou luck with the ladies and leaves. Back at the counter, Maou asks the girls what they want to order. Amelia casually tells him to grab her an iced coffee. Maou tells her to get it herself. They start bickering again. Rika, watching, says Maou isn't very smooth and adds that the restaurant is dead under his watch. Annoyed, Maou snaps back. Rika says she'll report him for being rude to customers. Maou replies that guests need to follow the shop's rules and asks who she even is. She introduces herself and says she heard about him from Ashiya and the girls. Maou asks what they said, but she gives a vague answer. Chiho shows up and serves Amelia's drink. She introduces herself to Rika, who hugs her and says she's adorable. Then Rika says she wants to see how Maou works, hoping he's smarter than he looks. Frustrated, Maou tells his team to pass out flyers to bring in business, but it fails. He then suggests they flex their abs to attract attention. That doesn't work either. The girls watch in silence, clearly unimpressed. A little later, a delivery man brings bamboo plants. Maou tells the team to decorate the area and make it festive. Chiho explains to Rika that Maou got the idea from a local community project where people write wishes and tie them to the bamboo. Rika's surprised that someone like Maou did community work. Slowly, the vibe at MgRonald starts changing. Customers begin to come in, and Rika is actually impressed. The next day, Chiho talks about how great the idea was. Maou warns that Sentis might steal their customers again if they get lazy. He remembers Kasaki's warning, and right then, she shows up and tells him to report to Fushima Park the next day. Maou panics, thinking he's getting fired, but she explains that he hit his sales target, and another manager requested his help. She also says he'll get a bonus. Chiho offers to tag along, but Kasaki says only Maou is needed. That night, Maou was chilling at home, eating dinner with Ashiya. While munching away, he told Ashiya about his next job assignment. But then noticed Ashiya was stuffing himself like he hadn't just been sick. Ashiya didn't seem to care. He just said the noodles were going to expire anyway, so it'd be a waste not to finish them. Across the room, Lucifer was tapping away on his computer. He suddenly spun around in his chair and said there was going to be a big event at Fushima Park, a haunted house and a reptile showcase. According to him, tons of people would show up, and fear could create a good amount of magical energy they might be able to collect. Ashiya, who was supposed to be resting, immediately said he wanted to tag along. In the apartment next door, Suzuno overheard them talking. Elsewhere, Amelia got a call from Chiho. Chiho invited her to come hang out at the park the next day. Amelia said she was free, and Chiho got hyped and started checking herself out in a swimsuit like she was prepping for summer vacation. Not long after, Amelia got a call from Suzuno, who told her Maou was going to the park to collect magic. Amelia was confused. She thought he was going there to support his job. She asked how Maou could possibly get magic energy from a theme park. Suzuno called her clueless and said she wanted to tag along to see how it really works. The next morning at Fushima Park, Maou arrived and introduced himself to the woman running the place. She already knew who he was and gave him a warm welcome, encouraging her staff to work hard. Meanwhile, the girls met outside the park entrance. Suzuno admitted she'd never been to a place like this before. Inside the changing area, Amelia and Chiho were picking out outfits. Amelia saw Chiho in her swimsuit and suddenly regretted not putting more effort into her jeans choice. Then Suzuno entered, dressed in clothes that looked like they came out of a museum. The others stared, unsure what to even say. Back at the food stall, Maou was grinding hard trying to impress the park manager. While flipping burgers, he turned and was shocked to see Chiho waiting in line. She said she just came to enjoy the day and gave him a little playful cheer. She tried to flirt, but Maou just said things were crazy busy with all the customers. Chiho looked disappointed, muttering that she expected more from him. Soon, Amelia and Suzuno walked up. Maou asked what they were doing there, and Amelia replied it was her day off, so she could do what she wanted. Suzuno added that she was just trying to experience normal life. Back at home, Ashiya crawled out of the bathroom looking wrecked. Lucifer chuckled and blamed it on the noodles. Ashiya didn't argue. He just stumbled back into the bathroom again, realizing he'd completely ruined his plan to help Maou. Back at the park, the girls decided to check out the haunted house. The effects inside were so scary that Chiho screamed and took off running. While Amelia and Suzuno searched for her, they stumbled upon a crying girl. As they got closer, they realized it was part of the haunted house, a creepy illusion. They both screamed and backed away. Once they recovered, they decided to explore the reptile section. Amelia warned Chiho that she could sit this one out, but Chiho insisted she'd go. Suzuno looked at Amelia and asked if she was scared. Amelia denied it, but admitted she didn't do well with cold-blooded creatures. They started remembering past bad experiences with reptiles, and Suzuno randomly asked if there would be anything they could eat there. Amelia blinked and dragged her aside, asking why she was bringing up ISA and weird stories like that in front of Chiho. Soon after, they began checking out the reptile exhibit. A chameleon suddenly jumped toward Amelia, and she panicked. In the process, she bumped into a security guard, causing him to drop his keys. He didn't notice and walked off. At the same time, Maou was delivering an order to a circus nearby. A monkey escaped from the cage and grabbed the dropped keys. A few minutes later, the girls found the monkey. It seemed totally lost and out of nowhere, jumped on Chiho and buried its face in her chest. The girls were shocked. Somewhere else in the park, the monkey's trainer called out its name, which turned out to be Mao's name too. The real Maou showed up just in time to see the monkey getting carried off, and the girls all burst out laughing. Meanwhile, a different part of the park was about to get wild. A gate to the crocodile area had been left open. A few of the reptiles crept out and wandered into the pool area. A guest screamed when they saw one, and soon everyone was running for their lives. Maou saw the panic and stepped forward, calmly casting a spell that put the crocodiles into a trance, keeping them from attacking anyone. Later, the park manager praised Maou for saving the day. As the sun went down, the girls rode the train home, chatting about how fun everything had been. But as Chiho and Suzuno got off at their stop, Suzuno noticed a shady guy in a cloak standing across the platform. He spread a pair of wings and vanished into thin air. The next day, Lucifer asked Maou how the mission at the park went. Maou said he had to burn through all the magic he collected during the crocodile crisis. Right then, Ashiya crawled out of the bathroom again and told them not to worry about him. Then came a knock on the door. Another package had arrived. Lucifer ran for the door, but slipped and face planted. Maou answered and found out the package was for Lucifer. Ashiya glared and asked what he'd been up to while hiding in the restroom. But he didn't get far before rushing back to throw up again. The next day, Lucifer asked Maou how the mission at the park went. Maou said he had to burn through all the magic he collected during the crocodile crisis. Right then, Ashiya crawled out of the bathroom again and told them not to worry about him. Then came a knock on the door. Another package had arrived. Lucifer ran for the door, but slipped and face planted. Maou answered and found out the package was for Lucifer. Ashiya glared and asked what he'd been up to while hiding in the restroom. But he didn't get far before rushing back to throw up again. Later, while Lucifer was glued to his computer, Maou checked on Ashiya, who was still recovering. Ashiya said he felt like a failure, but Maou told him to relax and said he'd cook dinner. Suddenly, the bell rang again. Ashiya asked if Lucifer had ordered more junk, but Lucifer said he wouldn't risk deliveries while everyone was home. Maou opened the new box and found a letter from Mickey. She said she'd sent a bunch of items from Hawaii and thought Maou could sell them at the upcoming festival. Meanwhile, Suzuno sat alone, remembering the cloaked man. He knew who she was and mentioned the church. She also recalled her missions under Alba, all the people she had taken out, thinking she was doing the right thing. Now she realized it was the hero, not them, who saved the world. Later at work, Rika asked Amelia if she had been to the park with Maou. Amelia said she saw him there, but only because she went with Chiho and Suzuno. Rika grinned and asked if she had a thing for Maou. Amelia rolled her eyes and said she was more into Suzuno. That day, Chiho came to Mao's apartment and saw a mountain of boxes. She asked what was going on, and Maou told her the landlady sent stuff from Hawaii to be sold. Ashiya showed up looking miserable and asked Chiho to help out since he was still sick. Suddenly, some of the boxes tipped over and crashed on Ashiya. Lucifer said the apartment was way too small for all this stuff and casually added that Amelia was also on her way. Maou freaked out and asked how he knew. Lucifer admitted he'd secretly planted a tracker in her bag days ago. When Maou opened the door, he saw Amelia standing by Suzuno's door instead. A little while later, Amelia asked why she should help unpack since she was only checking in on Suzuno. Suzuno replied that she didn't need checking in on. They opened the boxes and found lots of items. When they found some food and drinks, Lucifer pointed out a note saying they could all have some. Chiho left to grab some cups. While Maou tried opening a wine bottle, Amelia called him clumsy. The cork flew out and hit Suzuno, spilling wine all over her. Chiho returned with 5 cups. Maou said Lucifer wouldn't be getting one, which made him complain loudly. That evening, after they finished selling off Mickey's stuff, Maou thanked the girls for helping. Chiho noticed Suzuno looking distant and asked if she was okay. Suzuno said it had been years since she enjoyed anything like a festival. Chiho said they should make this one unforgettable. After Mao's shift, Suzuno saw a floating feather and later met the hooded man again. He told her to finish her task before Mao's power returned. He reminded her of all the blood already on her hands and said it was too late to have second thoughts. She told him she never wanted to kill anyone, she just believed in what she was told. But he told her that none of that matters now. Back at Mao's place, Lucifer was casually scrolling through websites like nothing was happening, while Ashiya lay on the floor groaning in pain. Lucifer, clearly annoyed, told him he should seriously just go to the hospital already. But when Lucifer jokingly said he'd call an ambulance, Ashiya sat up and asked nervously, "Wait, how much would that cost me?" Meanwhile, out on the street, Amelia and Chiho ran into Suzuno. She looked totally zoned out, standing still like her mind was far away. As the 3 girls walked home together, Chiho brought up the idea that Suzuno should maybe take Mao's job offer and work at MgRonald's. But all of a sudden, Suzuno froze mid-step. She turned, looked dead serious, and said Maou doesn't deserve to stay alive. Chiho stopped in her tracks. "Wait, what? Where is this even coming from?" she asked. Suzuno told her that Maou had used magic again, this time by setting up a bamboo tree and tricking people into writing down their wishes, which actually powered him up. Chiho argued that he was just trying to bring in more people to the restaurant, but Suzuno wasn't convinced. She said there was no guarantee he wouldn't do something dangerous with that magic in the future. Chiho tried to stand up for Maou again, but Suzuno shut her down and threatened to erase her memories. Chiho panicked and said she didn't want to forget all the moments they'd shared. But Suzuno went on, reminding Chiho that Maou was once the demon lord who made countless people suffer in their homeland. Still, Chiho defended him, listing all the good things Maou had done since arriving on Earth. Just then, Amelia jumped in. She said that while she did agree with Suzuno on some points, she also believed that peace wasn't worth giving up everything and everyone. Suzuno looked at her and asked if she had any plans to actually take down Maou. Amelia said no. Hearing that, Suzuno got emotional and walked off crying. As Amelia and Chiho continued walking, Chiho started blaming herself for speaking harshly to Suzuno, especially since she didn't really understand anything about Suzuno's past or her homeland. Amelia gently told her not to beat herself up about it, love doesn't follow logic. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a hooded figure appeared and attacked them. Amelia quickly pushed Chiho out of harm's way and summoned her sacred weapon. She charged into fight, but got knocked back. The hooded figure then revealed himself, it was Mitsuki. While Chiho tried to call Maou for help, Amelia got hit by one of Mitsuki's energy blasts, and her powerful sword turned into a small knife. Mitsuki smugly explained that he had the ability to overpower sacred power users like her. Then, with glowing angel wings, he said he was there to take her sacred sword. Before Amelia could react, he zoomed in at insane speed and blasted her through a wall. Chiho ran to get help but spotted Suzuno nearby. Angry, Chiho accused her of betraying the person who risked everything to protect their world. Suzuno looked torn but gently touched Chiho's head and knocked her unconscious, saying she was sorry. At Mao's apartment, he finally saw a missed call from Chiho on his phone. Then another call came in, this time from Chiho's mom, who asked if her daughter was with him because she wasn't home yet. Worried, Maou reached out to Lucifer, who checked and confirmed that Chiho wasn't at the apartment either. Lucifer added that he had checked the records at Senti's and Mitsuki wasn't even listed as an employee. Alarmed, Maou asked if he still had a tracking device on Amelia. Lucifer opened his radar and saw Amelia's signal moving straight through buildings like she was being dragged. Maou didn't waste time, he grabbed a mop like a weapon and rushed out. Elsewhere, in a hospital room under guard, Alba suddenly woke up from his coma. On another floor, Ashiya was still resting but worried about how much his treatment might cost. A nurse came in, and he asked if insurance would cover it. She told him it would and asked if he wanted another for drip. Ashiya groaned and declined. As Ashiya walked into the hallway, he noticed a knocked-out police officer. Before he could react, Alba appeared behind him and knocked him out cold with a punch. Alba picked up Ashiya's ID and walked off. The nurse later found Ashiya unconscious on the floor and scolded him, while Alba looked at the address on the card and memorized it. Meanwhile, on a rooftop, Mitsuki was torturing Amelia with more blasts. He demanded that she give him the sword. Amelia, injured and cornered, asked him to at least let Chiho go. Mitsuki said no, Chiho was important because she was a rare case, a human from another world who actually cared about the Overlord. He called her a valuable test subject. Amelia was disgusted and called him a freak. He zapped her again. Back on the ground, Maou ran full speed toward the location but smacked straight into a magical barrier that blocked the building. Mitsuki noticed this and laughed, telling Suzuno to go deal with him. Amelia, still weak, called out to Suzuno and said, "Even if you kill us, nothing's going to change back home." But Mitsuki didn't care. Suzuno summoned a massive hammer and jumped down from the roof. She landed right on Mao's bicycle and crushed it. Maou freaked out, yelling about how expensive his bikes were. Then Suzuno came swinging the hammer at his head. Maou ran and leapt onto a rooftop to avoid her. He quickly stripped off his work uniform, saying it would cost him a fortune to replace if it got destroyed. Suzuno asked what he was doing. Maou explained that unless she had a job, she wouldn't understand how expensive work uniforms were. She tried to blast him again, but only managed to knock off his shirt. Maou looked at her and said he did appreciate how she fed them and acted like a good neighbor, but now that his coworker got hurt, he couldn't let it slide. Suzuno asked if he knew who she really was. Maou said he always had doubts her timing and kindness were too perfect. He guessed her meals had magical energy mixed in. He thought maybe she was different from Alba, but now, he wasn't so sure. Angry, she slammed him with her hammer, surprised that it actually hit. Maou explained that he had burned through all his magic just breaking through the barrier. He tried to leave, but Suzuno said he wouldn't last a second against Mitsuki in his current state. Maou realized this was probably why Amelia had lost. Suzuno added that Mitsuki becomes even stronger when the moon is full. Maou stretched a little and said even if he was powerless, he wasn't the type to abandon his team. Then he ran off. Back at Mao's apartment, Lucifer stared at the tracking screen and mumbled, "What's he getting into now?" Then the doorbell rang. He opened the door and found Alba, who tried to recruit him again with promises of granting his wishes. Back on the rooftop, Mitsuki tried to pull the sword out of Amelia by force and started unbuttoning her top. Chiho yelled at him, calling him disgusting, but Mitsuki said he wasn't into quiet girls like Amelia, he liked bold ones like Chiho. Both girls started mocking him. Furious, Mitsuki shut them up. Amelia warned that if he touched Chiho, he'd regret it. Mitsuki laughed and asked what she could do. Amelia smiled and said, "It's not me you need to worry about, it's my boss." He was confused. "Your boss?" Amelia nodded and said Chiho works at MgRonald's and Maou is her manager, and he protects his employees. Right then, Maou finally reached the rooftop, out of breath and mad at the broken elevator. He apologized for being late. Amelia yelled at him not to stare at her chest. Chiho laughed awkwardly. Mitsuki said he was surprised Maou even showed up. Maou replied that he didn't expect a fast food manager to be some undercover angel. Mitsuki said he needed the sword because it was made of holy materials. Maou didn't care, he just said he'd never forgive anyone who tortured a member of his crew. Mitsuki laughed and asked what Maou thought he could do with a weak body. Then he blasted him several times. Maou bled and struggled. Mitsuki floated near the moon and asked what Maou planned next. Elsewhere, Alba took energy supplements and cast a spell. Suzuno considered jumping in, but Lucifer stopped her and pointed out that Alba was already creating chaos. Mitsuki grew stronger and trapped Maou in midair with rocks. The strange energy made people nearby panic. Ashiya woke up from the noise and chaos. Mitsuki felt something strange as magic gathered around Maou. Maou broke free and freed Amelia. He told Suzuno to protect the others. Mitsuki asked if she'd gone insane, helping the enemy. Suzuno said she couldn't ignore the lies anymore. Maou asked for Amelia's bag. When Mitsuki refused, Maou warned him that Amelia would kill him if he didn't hand it over. At the same time, Alba realized Lucifer had tricked him. Lucifer knocked Alba out with one punch. Clouds suddenly covered the moon. Maou looked at Mitsuki and said, "You can either run or get wrecked." Mitsuki refused to back off and fired a beam. Maou dodged, then countered with a heavy punch. Mitsuki panicked and tried to grab Chiho. She responded with a clean uppercut and kicked him straight into a wall. Maou turned into his full demon form. He picked up Amelia and said he could see her small assets, making her blush and button up. Mitsuki, now furious, said he would take Mao's head. Maou summoned his dark blade and told him to beg. Then he blasted the fallen angel back to where he came from. A little while later, Maou groaned about having to clean up the mess with his magic. Amelia told him it was his fault for being late. Ashiya finally showed up and apologized for arriving late. Sometime later, Chiho had a strange dream. In it, she stood on a rooftop with Maou. He said he had to go back to Ente Isla. She said she'd follow him, but Maou refused, saying their worlds were too different. Chiho cried. Maou kissed her and walked through a portal. When she woke up, she told Maou about the dream but left out the kiss. Maou said there's no way he has that kind of power, yet he used it all yesterday during cleanup. Then he hurled Mitsuki's body through a portal. Back at the store, Kisaki showed up and asked why Maou ran off with a mop and never came back. Maou mumbled. Chiho tried to answer for him, but Kisaki gave her a look. Just then, Suzuno stepped in and said, "Maou saved us." Inside their small apartment, Lucifer checks a glowing screen and blurts out that Suzuno headed straight to where Maou works. Ashiya, drying his hands, tells him to stop tracking people like a creep, then casually asks how expensive those little spy devices are. Lucifer shrugs him off, yelling at him not to touch him with his wet fingers. Elsewhere, Suzuno walks into the restaurant and meets Kisaki. She introduces herself and shares how she and her crew were being chased by a strange creature and got saved by Maou. Before Kisaki can reply, a panicked employee runs in yelling that someone's lying inside the freezer. Everyone rushes over and finds Mitsuki half frozen on the ground. They guess the bamboo reacted to some magical energy and accidentally created a portal. Mitsuki wakes up, rambling nonsense about meeting some divine beauty in another dimension. While he throws a fit, Kisaki looks concerned, unsure if he's okay. Maou casually says he's the manager of the place. Mitsuki gets louder, saying more random things, so Kisaki suggests calling emergency services. Suddenly, Mitsuki tries to hug her, but she dodges and stomps his face into the floor. That same night, Amelia wakes up from a weird dream where Maou goes back to being a power-hungry overlord. Later, while she's changing at work, her coworker RA notices her cheerful vibe and asks if she wants to eat out. Amelia declines, and RA teases her, asking if she's spying on Maou again. Amelia awkwardly says it's not like that, but RA smirks and says they should stop lying to themselves. Amelia replies that it's not so simple. Later in the evening, Amelia reminds herself that she still hates Maou for wrecking her hometown and killing her dad. Even so, she shows up at his place. When she walks in, Suzuno is spoon-feeding Maou. Amelia stands there stunned. Then Chiho walks in, sees them, and completely loses it. Suzuno casually explains she was trying some fancy French food, but Chiho snaps back that she already made dinner. She demands to know whose food Maou likes more, hers or Suzuno's. Maou nervously says it'd be cheaper if they just took turns. Amelia, still watching, silently thinks how pathetic he's become. Right then, Ashiya walks through the door, and Mao's shocked to see him. Maou asks where he's been, and Ashiya says he wants a break. Later, Emerada chats with Amelia over the phone. She says she doesn't believe Ashiya went back to Ente Isla. Amelia insists he said it was just a vacation, but Emerada jokes that maybe he just needed space from their tiny living room. Amelia then recalls Ashiya refusing to explain something earlier when the girls were around, and Maou telling them to step out. Later, when Amelia tells Chiho she got nothing from Emerada, it starts pouring rain. They duck under a roof, and Chiho says she had a dream where Maou returned to his old world. Amelia is surprised and says she had a nightmare too. That night, Amelia keeps watch on Mao's place and sees a delivery truck dropping off several crates. She jokes in her head about health-themed health supplements. Then she calls Emerada, hoping for updates from Ente Isla, but Emerada just complains about gaining weight. Amelia ends the call, irritated. Meanwhile, Kisaki receives flowers from Mitsuki and doesn't know what to do with them. Maou walks in, asks to adjust his shift hours, and she agrees, unaware that Chiho is hiding around the corner, listening. Later, Maou gets ready to head out, and Chiho stops him. She asks if he's going back to Ente Isla, and Maou says he doesn't have the strength to travel there yet. Chiho pushes for more info, but Maou keeps quiet. Afterward, Amelia and Chiho throw on disguises and follow Maou to a construction site. They joke around, wondering if he's secretly building a demon castle. But Maou catches them. He explains that they're low on funds because Lucifer secretly planted trackers, one in Suzuno's shoes, the other in Amelia's bag. Amelia checks her purse and finds it. Furious, she almost blasts it with magic, but Maou reminds her they're in public. So she stomps it instead. Maou tells them they'll be billed for the devices in 2 weeks, but his salary isn't due until later. He also says it was Ashiya's idea to take a temp job that pays daily. Amelia asks why Chiho wasn't told. Maou says she would have blamed herself since the trackers ended up saving her. Maou apologizes, but Chiho says it's alright as long as he's not leaving for Ente Isla. Amelia brings up the delivery truck, but Maou says he doesn't know what she's talking about. Later, Maou corners Lucifer and demands the truth. Lucifer nervously admits he dragged the boxes inside. Maou opens them and finds water filters and fire extinguishers. Confused, Maou asks why he bought them, and Lucifer explains he fell for a scam. Amelia explains it's a trick where sellers pretend to be buyers, then con you into spending money on junk. Maou groans and asks how much was wasted. Lucifer says 128 Saizen and yen. Amelia pulls up the company's info and tells Maou to call. He tries, but they refuse to return the goods. Maou, furious, says they're going to confront them directly. Next day, Maou and Amelia head to the company and are shocked to find Ashiya working there. When they explain everything, Ashiya reveals he was the one who answered Mao's call, but he was just reading from a script. Realizing he's part of a shady business, Ashiya says he's quitting. Then the company boss arrives. Maou demands to know if he's the one in charge. The guy says the purchase followed company policy. Maou calls it fraud, but the boss insists it was a fair agreement. On the way home, Ashiya says he's sorry for not protecting Lucifer better. Amelia gets an idea and asks how old Lucifer is. Maou says he's underage. Amelia grins and says there might be a loophole. The next morning, they visit a legal advisor. The lawyer says minors can't legally sign contracts without a guardian's approval, so the deal is void. In the end, the company is forced to come pick up their useless junk. And that's where this video ends. Watch this following video and I'll see you in the next one.